I thought Lightyear was alright. Does it deserve its current flop in the box office? No, not necessarily. But it certainly wasn't fantastic, and it didn't really feel like a Pixar film. Everyone has their personal favorite Pixar film. For me, it's Ratatouille. It was beautifully animated, the soundtrack was amazing, and I loved how imaginative it was. A rat in a kitchen who cooks by controlling a human who, incidentally, also can't cook. I mean, how completely original is that? And matched with the simple yet super meaningful message that's effortlessly repeated throughout the film.
Anyone can cook.
Even a rat. It's literally, pun intended, chef's kiss to the extreme. Lightyear, meanwhile, has none of that. The character was taken from an existing franchise, which already limits how quote-unquote original it can be. And the story felt a little flat. It strung along a few low-hanging fruit sci-fi story tropes into a straightforward story. Although, I do want to single out the bittersweet montage of Lightyear unsuccessfully rocketing up to space and then every time landing back to see yet another older version of Alicia. That montage sequence, while being a low-hanging fruit sci-fi story trope, was lovely, and it really made the story feel sincere. But other than that, the rest of the film felt just a bit too on the nose for a Pixar film. In fact, it all felt too on the nose to even be an animated film. The film overall looks spectacular. The sets and objects were really detailed, and the textures on everything made the scenes pop. The world was also very realistic. And don't get me wrong, I'm all on board the more animated films please train. But other than the faces looking very Pixar, the rest of the film wasn't doing anything dramatically interesting that made it feel like it needed to be an animated film. I mean, Ratatouille had rats, Inside Out had emotions, Finding Nemo had fish, and Soul had, well, souls. These films were all exploring perspectives that demanded imaginative ways of designing characters and expressing emotions, because those perspectives, featured in the film, couldn't be seen by the human eye. And I guess that's it. The reason why Lightyear felt so blah was because the film didn't dream up stories beyond the human perspective like most successful Pixar films do. It didn't show us human lessons through the imagined worlds and experiences of animals, objects, feelings, and beings. What it did instead was show us scenes from the perspective of a human, which we can usually imagine since we're humans ourselves. Without a doubt, advancements in technology have led to many impressive animated films, which can be pretty exciting. Nowadays, scenes from the latest Pixar movies can look pretty much straight out of real life. But not that they're the exact same tool. I personally think the technological advancements favor CGI for live-action films, more than animated storytelling. With advanced visual effects, you can create completely realistic imagined worlds around actors, and you can even immerse your actor directly into the world to make their acting even more realistic. Although, of course, one step too far into realism, and CGI can veer straight into the uncanny valley, which is definitely not where we want to go. On the flip side, I'm not so sure that realism favors the animated genre. My fear is that focusing on creating detailed and realistic animated worlds won't actually give us better animated stories. And instead, the more realistic the visuals, the more uninspired our animated stories might become. When the visuals are realistic, the stories we tell end up following the rules of real life, meaning the animated stories we tell won't be as whimsical or imaginative as before. What if focusing on what's real means we end up forgetting what isn't real, and what isn't real is actually what is more interesting to explore? I think it's a good thing when animated films don't look like real life, because it actively engages our minds to adapt to whatever rules the animated world dictates. It delights and surprises us, completely bypassing our expectations so that we don't know what to expect next. That's the joy of animation, when the impossible seems totally possible. It gives our minds a chance to think abstractly, which helps us become better thinkers and more imaginative problem solvers. That being said, I don't think Pixar has completely forgotten how to use their imagination. Recent films like Soul, Luca, and Turning Red are great examples of how Pixar continues to bend the rules and break the boundaries of realism. I just hope that Lightyear is only a slight detour, rather than a massive pivot point in what Pixar will be making in the future.